in the beginning. It could have been a flash forward of some type. But we see Bob, and he's on his own. He is, you might even say, alone, and he's wandering around, finding shelter where he can. He's very clever about finding shelter under a bridge, finding different stuff he can eat or drink, including some NyQuil or off-brand sleep aid, cold fighting medicine stuff. And then one day, after all this, just walking around by himself, fighting zombies, surviving, he's approached by Daryl and Glenn, who, no offense to them, but came off as extremely creepy, and I would have been very much ready to pull out a gun and shoot them if I had to in Bob's situation. But they ask him the 3 questions, and then they let Bob join them, and they head to the prison.
I really like the sequence. There's this one part where he's under, I think he's sleeping under the bridge, and he's woken up by a walker. He just has this 1,000-yard stare. It's kind of this glassy look. He's just looking at the
That's
walker.
because of the NyQuil.
Right. But I mean, the actor obviously didn't drink a bunch of NyQuil. I would hope to get the same effect.
Or method on The Walking Dead, Jim. I don't know.
Well, it could be method on him. Is Elia Kazan's ghost there on the set or something? Anyway, there's a joke for Aaron. Anyway, but that look that Lawrence Goodard had when that walker just interest in his face, he just that glassy kind of 1,000-yard stare. Really, that one scene just made a really big impression on me. I really like this opening part, and kind of fills us in on how Bob joined the group because we really didn't get that before.
I'm having some fun with you, Jim, but yeah, that actually was my favorite kind of set part of the episode, of just in terms of kind of the shot, because I really liked the kind of Bob putting together that makeshift fence, and then you have that shot of the walker, like his arm reaching through. That's really cool, and then Bob giving back that what I dubbed a very emo stare. But I really liked it. I thought it was a very kind of effective way to show Bob's his thoughts, like what's going on with him. He obviously seems lost, and it helps. This is an episode, that's very much about Bob and Sasha, among others that we'll get to. But it was a nice, cool intro to this episode and to this character who we know, not that much about, that it'd be nice to get to know more of. And we'll see what I was going to say.
Yeah, the shot on top of the tractor trailer too was really memorable.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Up above him, almost like he was making a dirt angel or something.
So, yeah, it's a very cool shot of him kind of alone. Yeah, very cool indeed.
Really
I remember I was very happy with this opening of a lone character wandering lost, as opposed to the governor who had the ridiculous beard going on and just didn't care about. Like this is a much better kind of way to convey that kind of character state.
So after the opening credits, we head to the present day where Bob, Sasha, and Maggie are surrounded by walkers and mist in the woods. And this is, of course, the scene we were talking about last week that we had seen in the previews for this episode and on The Talking Dead. Super creepy. You can't see what's coming. Apparently, neither could the actors. They said that this was really a lot of smoke being pumped in or steam or whatever's being pumped in, so they couldn't see. And it was super effective. They fight off the walkers. One of them nearly bites Bob, but bites his bandage instead. And after they fight off the walkers, Sasha tends to Bob, and relieved, Sasha embraces Bob, and the 3 later agree that they must find a better place to set up camp. Or just climb some trees. I don't understand why in the show nobody ever climbs trees when they're in the woods. It seems like such a no-brainer. Carry a rope, you can shimmy right up there.
Zombies can't climb trees.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And was all this missed like a visual slam on Darabont?
What if that was true? That's amazing.
Not even the mist had this much mist. But go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Not everyone's that adept at climbing trees, I guess. I don't know.
But surely somebody is.
Hey, wait, but if it's a Johnny Walker Red in that tree, Bob will get up in a minute.
Did they seem like very climbable trees? I didn't really focus on the type of tree.
I'm more just joking, but I have noticed that for all the times they're being chased by walkers in the woods, nobody ever, I don't think we've seen a single person in the show ever climb a tree. And it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
There's also the what next after you climb the tree. Like, you get down and what? Like, there's the walkers there. No one
Well,
climbs
you
the tree.
take them out with a machete, climb to another tree. Haven't you seen The Hunger Games? Come on now. Or I guess read the books. That's more of a factor of the book. I digress.
I mean, Tracker Jackers would make things a lot easier, but I don't know.
Yes, drop a beehive on them.
Welcome to the Hunger Games podcast. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong podcast.
That's the HGTV podcast. You didn't know this?
The Home and Garden Television Network podcast?
That's obviously what I meant.
So we then head over and catch up with Beth and Daryl, where Daryl has resumed teaching Beth how to shoot a crossbow, only this time while not being drunk and really creepy, and he's also teaching her how to track. They find a clearing where there's a walker eating an animal. Beth tries to shoot the walker, but she steps in some type of animal trap, and Daryl intervenes and kills it, and he then carries her part of the way until they get to a graveyard being overlooked by a large house, and Daryl carries her right inside through the graveyard. After they share a moment by a gravestone that just says, I believe it was beloved father, and they both kind of have a little moment. Daryl puts flowers on it because he's sweet like that.
Creepy graveyard house in the middle of the forest.
I think any house that can be described as a graveyard house is going to be creepy.
I mean, it was a funeral parlor, so I mean, it has an obvious purpose, but I know you know that. But I guess I don't want to hark back onto last week too much. But I like this episode's use of Daryl and Beth a lot more. The relationship is clear to me, and you can argue that that's because of last week. I wouldn't, but I do think seeing them be comfortable with each other to the extent that they are, and have them have this interplay while also kind of progressing a narrative forward, are things that I enjoy about seeing them together. It helps that Emily Kinney also stepped up. I don't think she's been a great asset to the show acting wise, and I feel like this episode was her best display yet of acting. So I mean, it just kind of all worked out for me.
So we then head back to Maggie, Sasha, and Bob, who they reach the train tracks, and they see a sign inviting survivors to Terminus. I believe it's the same sign that Tyrese, Carol, and the girls found, although there are a lot of signs. But
it looks the same. If it's not the same sign, it's definitely written by the same person or made to look like the same sign.
You subscribe to All Tour Sign Theory?
Sure.
They do actually look all the same, which always makes you question if they just grabbed
That's
the same sign.
incredibly racist, Aaron.
That's too much.
There's the first.
I was so excited. But yeah, I mean, it's the same sign. It kind of looks like it's been the same sign they've taken from each set to use again, or they just had a great printing service at Terminus. So we'll see, I guess.
Terminus has its own governor, Governor Gutenberg, who's very much into his printing presses.
They have the Daily Walker. That's
The last surviving Kinkos.
So when they see the sign, Bob realizes, oh, I've heard something like this message before, and he tells them about the broadcast that he, Tyrese, Daryl, and Michonne had heard over the radio way back in the beginning of the season. And they're like, well, why didn't you mention anything about this? And I thought he actually had a pretty good response, because A, literally didn't remember it till now, and B, I couldn't understand what was coming over the radio. It's only by seeing the sign now that I'm putting two and two together. So hopefully clearing up anything for the audience. So yeah, that's a good point. Why didn't you bring this up earlier?
Well, and C, when would they have had a chance to discuss this? Like, the those, that group got
that's
back,
true, that's
the
true.
governor came in and ruined everything.
So Maggie wants to go to the community of Terminus because she hopes Glenn's going to be there. Sasha disagrees, saying that there's not any good reason why Glenn would have even have seen the sign, but Bob sides with Maggie, and Sasha is forced to concede.
It's the start of the kind of Bob Sasha sessions of this episode, but it's effective. Obviously, it's moving these characters towards where many of the other characters are going, and it's a nice way to kind of introduce drama for this particular episode while also keeping the characters moving. I mean, these things that I enjoy about the series, because we are going to get some character work, but we are also proceeding to a very specific endpoint in the long run.
The thing I enjoyed about it was they didn't try to pack too much more into it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going from Bob, Sasha, and Maggie to Beth and Daryl, and then to Rick and Carl, and then to Tyrese and his group. It's just these two storylines playing off each other, and it's cool. I mean, we'll definitely see toward the end of the episode how they keep playing into each other, kind of intertwining in different places.
Yeah. Although this is another episode, was it 3 or 4 now without Rick? That's such a weird thing. It's not a problem. Don't get me wrong, but it is so weird to have him not be in these episodes.
Well, it's nice to see MC have the confidence to realize that there's an ensemble cast here. People watch the show in record numbers. Maybe we should have them actually embrace some of the other characters and not just Rick and Carl's story.
Right.
That may not work all the time because all these characters are not inherently interesting necessarily, but it is nice to have some regard for some of these specific people, especially ones played by the fairly talented cast that we have on hand here that have otherwise not gotten a whole lot to do on the show.
And it would have been really easy to fall in that trap if they did in some of the episodes. I think in season 3, I'm thinking of where they were juggling like 9, 10, 11 different characters in the ensemble, trying to give everybody a little bit of face time and something to do and something pertinent to the plot to have for them, for them to string on to the next thing. Instead of like last episode was just Errol and Beth. This episode is just the group of 3 and the group of 2. They're not trying to keep all these balls juggling in the air. And it gives them time to really, like Aaron is saying, get these good character moments, get this good character work in, as they're going to the next big plot point, which is obviously Terminus.
Right. And it's also just nice for the series in general. I mean, we've watched. I mean, this is the 4th season of The Walking Dead. It's easy to see the same basic thing, and this is a completely different strategy where we've had was this the 5th episode of the 4th or 5th episode of the post-Governor season? And I mean, it's all been in the same style with the exception of the second one, which is more of a kind of here's a montage about every different character in the show, and here's kind of a starting point. But now we have these follow-up episodes that are really delivering on what each of them have been up to, and that's completely different than season 2 per se, where you have a farm full of characters and we watch every single one of them every week. So.
Right. And I mean, I know you weren't here last week, but just real quickly, I mean, some of my favorite episodes of the show have been the ones that focus on just a few characters, 8 Miles Out or Nebraska or different episodes.
Clear,
like that. Or Clear, another good example. A lot of my favorite episodes have been the ones that single out just a few characters and concentrate on them. I really appreciate when they do that. So.
Even the pilot. I mean, that's what the pilot episode is. Exclusively focused on. And it's because I like them too, and because I don't want to confuse my dislike for not even dislike, but just I guess mild disappointment for last week's episode with the idea that I need to have Walker action every week, because I think people clearly know that that's not the case. I am a big fan of these episodes. I've been arguing for having more of these types of episodes. It just comes down to how effective I think they're accomplished. And yeah, you gave me something that I enjoy last week, but I didn't necessarily like all the way. This episode, it's in that same kind of style, but I liked more. So.
I just like the mix of characters that we're getting. These aren't folks that we would typically think of working well together, and so it's really cool to see the way they mix and match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Seeing Tyrese with Judith, as far as juxtaposition or whatever.
It's funny because that's actually the story I'm most intrigued by. We haven't dealt with it since the second episode of this postseason, so I really want to get back to that. And I believe that happens next week. So.
Well, being a big guy with a beard, with a baby, I can definitely relate to that story probably the most. So.
And being a 7-year-old murderer myself, I
you
definitely
really into Lizzie then, huh? Yeah. Being a 12-year-old pudding lover, I'm really into Carl this season.
So back with Daryl and Beth at the funeral home at the graveyard, they go inside and they're immediately kind of taken aback by how clean everything is. They find a stockpile of food, there's no dust on it, etc., and they assume somebody's living in it. But they, throughout the whole episode, never encounter that person, as far as we know. But they explore and they find a bunch of bodies dressed up, like 4 funerals. One of them's even in a casket, in addition to all the food and stuff that they find. And Daryl takes a chunk off the face of one of the formaldehyded bodies.
Yeah, that was a good moment that I quite enjoyed. It's funny you mentioned the people that never come around that obviously have been a part of this place, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, at the end of this when we discuss theories or whatnot. But the episode did a good job of making me kind of forget that there are going to be people, like it's a ticking bomb, obviously, like something has to happen involving who is living at this house. But I actually kind of forgot about what was for the short time they were at this location. I forgot about the fact that probably people are going to come back, so I was generally surprised when things happen the way they do again in this episode.
Oh, see, now that still surprised me with what happens at the end.
Yeah.
I never forgot, like when they're playing the piano and sleeping in a casket, I was like, what are you doing? If somebody walks in right now, not only have you taken their food and are taking where they're living, but you're being disrespectful of their weird death fetish. Like, this is all going to be a problem if that family or whoever's living there comes back.
It's called the Goldilocks syndrome.
And also, Jim, did it remind you at all of that book we read way back in the day in early parts of this podcast? We interviewed a writer,
Jonathan Mayberry. Yeah,
Jonathan Mayberry. Yes. Yes, did it remind you of that book with the funeral home and everything?
Yeah, kind of that part of the book. Yeah, it did kind of remind me of that. I remember reading that a few years ago. And we had him on. Yeah, I just thought my favorite line in this whole part was when Daryl climbs into the coffin to go to sleep.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is the most comfortable bed I've had in years." I just thought it was pretty funny. But
And probably true.
probably true. That's what probably made it funny.
That and the white trash brunch, thing. Just things from Daryl's life.
Yep.
We head back over to Maggie's group. They're setting up camp, and Maggie's not there, so Bob asks Sasha where she is. Sasha says she's getting firewood, and Bob asks Sasha, do you want to stop, or do you want to go to Terminus? And she says she wants to stop. She says she wants to survive. She thinks Glenn's probably dead, and they need to stop at the first town they come across instead of residents, like on upper floor or something. They need to focus on themselves surviving and not finding other people who may or may not be dead. And the next morning, Sasha and Bob discover a note from Maggie saying she's going to Terminus. She doesn't want them to risk their lives. Don't follow her, and they decide to anyway. So this is the episode we find out that despite not making very good life decisions for himself, Bob is really good at giving advice to other people, which is not exactly unheard of. I know a number of people, I might even include myself in this, who can give good advice, and we don't follow it ourselves.
Yeah, I see that for sure. And I wouldn't say Bob's like a favorite character of mine necessarily, but
He might be for me after this episode.
He's certainly ranking high up there, and at least the most intriguing he definitely is, because I don't necessarily see Bob as like, I know some people find Bob like creepy or like there's something that we just don't know that's dastardly about him. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do think that not giving us like the explicit like I was in this group and this happened, just letting us know that he was obviously with other groups and bad things went down, why he's the lone survivor, I don't know. But I don't necessarily care at this point. I'm just intrigued by his presence, and I think it has to do largely with how they're writing Bob's character, how they're dealing with the addiction aspect of his character, and because Lawrence Taylor Jr. is just a good actor.
Oh yeah, he's great. There's a scene coming up, and if I don't want to jump the gun too far, but when Sasha's asking Bob why he's been smiling or whatever, and he says, he goes into the whole thing that you're talking about, Aaron. He says he's not alone, and that just ties in so well to that opening sequence. When he is alone, and he's just incredibly alone, horribly alone. It's really good acting on his part.
For sure. I have my own theories on what I think is going to come of Bob in this season, but I'm happy with what I know about this character now, and I don't necessarily need to have kind of a long-winded flashback story of how he got to be the way he is.
So Maggie follows the train tracks, just like we've seen a bunch of other characters do. She comes across another sign for Terminus. A walker approaches her, and so she lets it get close, and then she kills it pretty easily. And then she decides to cut its stomach open with a gleam in her eye right before it cuts commercial, which left me going, wait, what now? What was your guys' reaction to what she was doing before it was revealed what she in fact did?
Oh, I figured it out. I was like, oh, she got a bigger pen, but it was nasty. I mean, you're sticking your hands in somebody's belly. Like, that's never good.
You think there'd be the one thing that'd be left after the zombie apocalypse would be pens and markers?
Well, she had a pen, right? Or was that her knife or whatever?
Why would she have a pen?
What was she going to mark on it before she got to the zombie?
I don't know that she necessarily thought about leaving a note until...
That's what she was going to do. That's what she was at the wall or whatever. She was going to mark some kind of indicator, and then she saw the zombie and kind of changed her mind on how to approach it.
I mean, I don't know that the Wikipedia article is necessarily correct, but it's saying she had made her way to the next sign down the train track. I don't know that she was necessarily. I mean, you could be right.
I mean, I watched it a couple times.
Okay.
She was clearly walking to like the blank spot on the thing. She was going to mark it with something, and then she saw the walker and was like, well, that's just a bigger way to that's a bigger way to show text than with big broad letters as opposed to like
That would be easily visible by camera.
Yeah, but she might have been trying to like scratch it in or something with one of her tools. But yeah, I thought it was that's what I saw it as. She was going to leave some kind of indicator, some kind of messenger blend. There was a split second where I thought she was like just like checking zombies to see like if there's any survivor, like any evidence of people inside of them or whatever. I was like, that's not going to do it. And then I realized exactly what.
See, where my mind went for some reason was, wait a second, was Maggie pregnant and either I forgot or we haven't been told, and this is some weird catharsis by chopping out the womb area of a female zombie?
Jeez.
No, like,
Wow.
or maybe we didn't know she was pregnant and she lost it in the battle or something, or she thinks she did, or that was where my mind went, and I was like, this is weird, because there was like a glint of almost glee in her eye as she was doing that, and so I was very happy to see what the actual reveal was. Let me just say that, because my mind went weird places.
All right.
It usually does.
Yes, it usually does. Usually not that weird, though.
I didn't quite read that same emotion, but I guess I can see where you're getting at.
Let me put it this way. I would not put it past the show to do something like that. I would hope there'd be a little bit more setup for it, but I would not be surprised.
We'll wait till next week when we get back to Little Child Killer and see what kind of glee she has in her eyes.
Yeah, exactly. After watching a baby get smothered for 5 minutes on television a couple weeks ago, this would not surprise me. So Sasha and Bob are still back talking and trying to find Maggie. And Sasha asks Bob, like you said earlier, I believe it was Jim, why have you been smiling this entire time since leaving the prison? And Bob responds, because he's not alone. After his first 2 groups were wiped out and he had, just been on his own walking the countryside, he's happy to have finally broken that streak. And that's when they come across the walker that Maggie killed and find a message she wrote to Glenn in the walker's blood telling him to go to Terminus. She better be hoping it doesn't rain before he gets there.
I figured he was smiling because it was a nice day outside. But no, it's what I think it's clear that Bob, he sees purpose in his life. I think that's where it's coming from. And that's another thing that I enjoy about it. I mean, this episode is largely focused on not necessarily like the dourness of a situation, at least for the Bob side of things, but kind of more of a hopeful aspect, which is something it's nice to see every now and then on the Walking Dead, a show that's constantly focused on the dour. So having an episode focused on a character who's actually found purpose in his life, and going over the ideas of what it means to have people with you as opposed to going alone. Those are ideas that work well in the kind of web of the series that explores what it is to kind of survive in a world that's full of death.
Well, and if last week's episode was about the need for a mission, the need for something keeping you going forward, this episode was all about the need for companionship while you're doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
And it worked very well.
It's like two sides of the same coin. Bob and Daryl both need something to keep them going on.
Which is reflected in this episode as a whole. I can see why kind of Beth Daryl storyline goes with this Bob Maggie Sasha storyline, because they're both, while they have different results, they both revolve around groups that are somewhat dependent on the fact that they are together instead of alone. And so Daryl obviously gets into this bad spot and makes a decision that affects how that status goes, given that he loses one person and gains more people. But Bob, on the other hand, he's essentially fighting to keep that core group together as it is.
Meanwhile, with Daryl and Beth, speaking of them, Daryl carries Beth into the kitchen. Again, at first I was like, wait, what? And then I remembered, all right, she screwed up her leg with
Serious
the camel trap.
piggyback.
That wasn't even a piggyback. He was carrying her like across the mantle.
I meant to bring it up earlier because he said serious piggyback.
Oh, right.
I wrote that down in my notes.
And they begin eating in the kitchen, but then they hear noise outside, so Daryl goes to check the front door, and he finds an adorable, if extremely ragged and one-eyed, dog on the front porch, and he tries to pet it, but the dog runs away.
This is a message for the AMC producers of The Walking Dead. We need a webisode all about this dog. I need to see this dog, like the type of stuff that he went through to get to this point in his life.
I would totally watch that.
Right?
When I threw that, his name was Lucky.
Also, one of the funniest lines in this, just a really like kind of non-funny line that I thought was pretty funny, was like Daryl tells Beth to wait, right? And then he goes and sees the dog outside, and then like Beth walks in, and Daryl's like, I thought I told you to wait. And Beth's response is, but Daryl, you said there was a dog, and that just I don't know why that's funny to me. It's just like that's okay, that was your reason because you said there was a dog.
And you know what? I would have done the same exact thing. Like, when you tell me that there's a dog after all this, yes, I'm going to go see that dog.
But Daryl, there's a dog. That was her response.
Also, for anybody who watched Talking Dead, they do their little factoids about the episode. Apparently, this dog lost its eye, saving its owner from a carjacker. So this dog is awesome.
Yeah, webisode, belly.
Well, I don't want to see a webisode about that unless the carjacker is also a zombie. But
How does this not sound amazing to you? This fucking dog.
Itself.
He stopped a zombie carjacker.
meanwhile, back with Bob and Sasha, in the middle of the night, Bob is awakened by the sound of a walker, but Sasha is already awake and says it's been making noise for about an hour, and she doesn't think it's getting any closer. And they have a discussion about how sometimes animals out in the middle of nowhere just kind of go in circles sometimes and make noise, which is true and creepy. So Sasha suggests Bob gets rest so that he can heal. He is unable to. He instead asks Sasha, why do you think Tyrese is dead? And saying if Tyrese was alive, he'd go to Terminus, and he knows that she knows that.
I mean, it's another good, it's fun to reflect on these. I mean, they're good scenes. They're well written. The actors are doing their job. They're expanding on what these characters are all about. It's going to reach a conclusion that I can, then talk more about. But I mean, it's a solid scene, and we're still moving. We're not staying in one spot. We're trying to find Maggie / go somewhere.
And Bob continues to give good advice and be really interesting.
Yeah, just kind of like I said, I kind of see this episode as like a lot of good character work and a lot of like connective tissue for the plot, getting everybody to Terminus.
So back with Beth and Daryl, Beth is writing thank you notes to the person staying in the house for the food that she and Daryl ate. Daryl suggests they can wait for the owner to return and try to live with them. And Beth asks what convinced Daryl there were so good people in the world, and he just looks at her. And after a pause, she understands and responds, oh. Before they can continue, they hear the dog barking again, so Daryl tries to let it in, but is attacked by a group of walkers. He holds the door as best he can, and he yells for Beth to leave through the window, grab her stuff before the walkers get in, and he'll distract them. He leads them through the house, into the basement, dumb idea, and eventually gets cornered, but he fights his way out pretty creatively, and manages to escape to the graveyard, where he finds Beth's bag lying on the ground, and sees a car peeling out of there. And he tries to follow it, but is unable to keep up.
Going to the basement is like, that's the zombie mistake, going back to like Night of the Living Dead,
Yeah, unless you've previously seen that there is like some other way out of that basement, don't do that.
Yes, thank you.
Because even if there weren't zombies, basements are just places where terrible things happen.
I'm not sure what the plan was here, except for Daryl. I mean, he obviously got out of it because he's Daryl. He kills tanks, but I mean, you're running down to the basement. Like, he obviously had some strategy there. He pulled up a gurney and then pulled up another. He did his classic Daryl sneaks under the walkers move that I'm sure we all knew about, and runs out the same exit. I was really
not playing football in college,
right? Yeah,
or high school, with him.
The DD sneak. But he was wasting so many arrows too, which kept annoying me so much.
Although he did manage to pick them back up on his way out, or at least one of them.
He grabbed that one for sure because I was like, "Grab your arrow!" And he did. And it was like, "Thank okay, at least there's something going on here." But what did he yell about? What did he yell to Beth? Do you remember? What did he?
So he yelled Beth, didn't he?
Just go, get out of here, grab your stuff.
Yeah.
Don't look back.
Yeah, it was a good scene. Like, I really liked the
What's the line from Titanic? I can't remember the line from Titanic.
Never let go. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll never let go. Yeah, there we go.
It was a well
I'll never let go,
crafted.
Beth. I'll never let go.
It was a well crafted scene. Like, when he opened that door, I expected it to be like the people that lived in the house, but it was just a horde of zombies saying hello, and then they attacked him. And it quickly got like very claustrophobic with like the hallways and everything. And it was I mean, Walking Dead, they do the walker scenes well. It was a good one.
And that's why I kind of wonder if it was more of a panic thing, because
Oh, for sure,
the
yeah.
claustrophobia, he's running, did he just accidentally end up in the basement? Again, still, I'd expect better from Daryl, but I guess it kind of makes sense in that type of moment. You weren't expecting anything like that.
his guard's completely down at this point. He was having a friendly conversation with Beth, and he was drunk
Sleeping in a casket.
drunk off pig's feet. I mean, he was yeah. I can see the surprise aspect really outweighing the logical ways to get through a situation like this. But so that's that. Moving on. Beth being kidnapped by like some crazy car with a cross on the back of it. Did not see that coming at all. Like that was something cool. Like I was like being caught completely off guard when The Walking Dead attempts to go that route. Like say,
Which, with the cross on the back of the car, are we assuming they're definitely connected to the funeral home then?
I'd be surprised if they weren't. So.
Yeah, I would be too.
I mean, we spent the entire sequence of the episode focused on people that aren't at this house. That's funeral parlor. That's probably / church or whatever. Like it'd be a waste of resources, I guess, or like having too many things going on to not have those things connected. Just like using the same people at the end of this episode that were from the other episode. I mean, it's just efficient that way.
And Beth can probably pull off the sister-wife look.
But okay, another thing too, because I know some people on the Facebook page are like, how did that car sneak up on them? It's not like it was right next to the house. Like Daryl had to run a good couple, good quarter mile or so to get to where that car like pulled out from. So.
Right. Are we thinking the people in the car brought the zombies there?
I think so. I mean, I don't see any other reason why walkers would suddenly go after that house aside from like some kind of lure.
Well, there was a dog barking. I mean, I'm seriously. That's the kind of thing we've seen zombies be attracted to before.
I actually kind of expect that dog to be involved with people in the car.
The dog is the ringleader.
He's the ringleader. Yeah. He's the Yellow King.
It's one of those Scooby-Doo situations, or I guess it was the Venture Brothers version of Scooby-Doo situations, where the owners of the dog are convinced the dog can speak and is telling them to do evil things.
Yeah, SummerSlam.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I was really speculating, I would like to think that the people that took Beth were probably scoping out the house. Their dog belonged to them. Maybe they were scouting from a distance while seeing what the reaction would be to a dog, kind of as they open up the door, they can see who they're dealing with and whatnot. And
That's how the dog lost the first eye.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's all speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised by this fact. I think they've just scoped out the fact that there are people in their house that they, normally keep track of the bodies went in there and decided to do something about it. That's the horizon.
Meanwhile, Bob and Sasha come across an empty town beside the tracks, and Sasha tries to convince Bob, look, this is a perfect place. We should set up camp. We should stop going on this fool's errand and just stay here. And Bob refuses. He's unable to convince Sasha to come with him, and he goes, I think it's on something along the lines, I'm going to try something here. He goes in for a kiss, and that doesn't work, and so they part ways. But it was worth a shot.
It was a good baller move. I'm going to try something here.
I mean, it's always that line, not if you're the last man on Earth.
Yeah.
Literally.
I mean, it was tough to read that reaction, though. I mean, I think there was as opposed to letting her, embrace him or something, or completely reject him, it actually had a kind of more ambiguous reaction as to where this can go from here. And
well, I think she had the same reaction I did, which is, yeah, because we're the two black people on this television show, so of course we have to pair up. Like, as much as I like the relationship, it's still in the back of my head going, but there's so many other characters. Like, do we have to follow this age-old trope?
I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily need a romance on this show, another one anyway. But something I can admire about The Walking Dead is, while people, on the internet and whatnot want to ship people, like, is that person hooking up with that person? What do you think? Could this happen? Like, this is an actual occurrence of romance on display, if you want to call it romance, but some kind of something beyond just friendship on display. And the show doesn't do that very often. I mean, aside from Glenn and Maggie, which was bound to happen from the start just because of comic book reasons and whatnot. Like the show resists doing that, and that's something. And Andrea, I guess, is the except that wasn't going to work anyway, and we knew that from the start. So it's nice that the show doesn't play around with it all the time. And if it's going to do it, it did it this way, which was not in a way that suddenly says, "Oh, here we go, it's another relationship." It's just more of a that happened. Now we're past that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So Sasha, parting ways with Bob, enters the old warehouse that she was suggesting that, hey, we should turn this into a camp. She goes up to the second floor, looks out a window, and sees Maggie lying in the center of a bunch of corpses on the ground, or off to the side at least. And in trying to see what is going on and maybe get her attention, Sasha accidentally causes the window to fall out of the window frame, which startles Maggie, attracts a bunch of walkers, and of course shatters and causes a bunch of noise. So Sasha goes out to help Maggie, and the two of them have kind of a knockdown drag out with a bunch of walkers in this ring of old vehicles, including an ice cream truck with Maggie using an old sign much more effectively than I would think you could use a sign.
Yeah, that was
what Sasha was even using.
I just wanted to say that was an awesome weapon for her, that no parking sign or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That was great. That was probably my zombie kill of the episode, was the way she was slicing the dice on that thing.
I gave it to the finger painting zombie action, but yeah, that was a pretty, like when they, because I watched a little bit of Talking Dead, so I got to see the in memoriam segment, and I thought that she clocked that zombie's head clean off, but they showed it in slow motion, and yep, she clocked that zombie's head clean off. Good scene though. Good another good kind of action sequence spawned by whoops, this entire glass frame ruined everything for everybody.
Have you ever seen a window do that before? Because I don't think I have.
I've seen it in movies. That's pretty much the extent.
I can't even think of a movie I've seen it happen where you just push the window and the whole window falls out. But I'm sure it's happened somewhere. It's the Rule 34 of movies, only not exactly. So after they have dispatched the walkers, Maggie tells her that she had heard Sasha say that Glenn was likely dead, and says she's wrong. And then she asks for Sasha's help in reaching Terminus, and Sasha finally agrees, and they leave to catch up with Bob.
That's a big summarization of what I think is like the best written segment of the episode, where Maggie's basically conveying that she knows she needs to ask for help, and she's not like the episode deals with the idea that, because it doesn't come back to Maggie very often, which I think is something that's wisely done. I think the time spent on Sasha and Bob is far more effective than showing us Maggie determined to find Glenn, because we know that already. There's not much else you can stand on with that. But Maggie, she's a character who wants to find Glenn, and she's very focused on that. But she's not considering what she has with her, which is two reliable people that are obviously also friends of hers, and getting to that point where she realizes that I need help with this. I can't just do this on my own, and I can't just put like pride or like the thought of endangering lives in the way. It's like this is something that we can do. We have no other way of doing what we need to do, and I'm going to ask you for help because that's ultimately going to make us work together as a group and possibly get us to somewhere we need to go, regardless of if we can get the exact result we want. It's just this is what we need to do, and I need you to help me do that thing. It's a good kind of aid to what Sasha's going through, where she is afraid and she doesn't know what the right action necessarily is to do, even though she might have gut instinct saying to go one way, even though securing shelter might be another way to go. So it plays around with what this episode's dealing with, and it doesn't use Bob, which is interesting too. Like Bob's already he's set on what he's trying to do, and it just brings these characters together to a head and leads to that eventual meet up with Bob, which is a nice catharsis, a nice way to leave it off with.
It shows them all working through the aftermath of the prison destruction too.
Yes, that very much so, Jim. Yeah.
So we then catch up with Daryl, who's been run for a while, it appears, and he collapses and is soon surrounded by 6 very heavily armed men. He jumps up and punches one of them and aims his crossbow at that guy's head. The guy, who we then see is a man we'll learn whose name is Joe, but he was the guy who sat on the porch at the house where Rick was eating maybe peaches or something out of a can, who was leading that group of people who terrorized Rick in that episode in that awesome sequence. But it's Joe, played by Jeff Kober, and he gets everybody to lower their weapons, has a nice little discussion with Daryl about how you know a guy with a bow is serious, because anybody can just pick up a gun and use it. But if somebody's got a bow, they're a bowman for life. And then he tells Daryl, you can just go you can just fight whoever or whatever, but wouldn't it be much more fun to actually hurt people or something along those lines?
I can say it exactly if you like, 'cause I wrote it down.
Oh yeah.
He states why hurt yourself when you can hurt other people?
Which tells you pretty much what you need to know about these marauders.
Yeah, and it's it wasn't too much of a stretch to predict that these guys would come back, given the kind of actor they chose, who again is not a huge character, not a very recognizable character actor necessarily compared to others that you easily know. But
The moment I saw him, I was like, hey, it's that guy.
yeah,
you know?
exactly, it's that kind of face, and like I can name like Buffy Vampire Slayer, I think I know he's in. I think he's on like Sons of Anarchy. Like there's
He was definitely on Sons of Anarchy. He was on Buffy.
he was the guy that he introduced Willow to dark magic.
His credits
Oh,
his credits go
that's
back to the original V, the series.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, wow.
He was in the reboot of the Twilight Zone. He's MacGyver, Burn Notice, The X
So you're telling us
Files,
he's a lizard
Earth
man?
2.
You're telling us?
He may have been. I don't know. But like you said, Aaron, Buffy was on ER, CSI, The Shield, NYPD Blue, Law & Order SVU, The Closer, Criminal Minds, Sons of Anarchy, Lost. And a bunch of movies as well. So
Wasn't he he was the mechanic in the last season of Lost, right? Who Kate ran into?
I didn't watch Lost.
That could be true. I don't know.
If I remember correctly, he showed up in the, let's just call him Flash Sideways and not spoil anybody who hasn't watched Lost, but he showed up in like one episode for 3 minutes, and it was almost the same situation as here, where everybody went, oh, so that guy will obviously show up again, right? Because it's a recognizable face, and then he, unlike the show, never showed up again the entire rest of the series, to my knowledge. So,
Yeah, he has a lot of credits.
but it
Yeah.
was nice to see him here, even though he's an evil son bitch.
I agree because it presents a new situation, and I'll be very curious to where it goes. Like, I don't want to do too much predicting on the show, but I have my own theories on where these guys, what they're about versus what the comics know, and for what the potential of the show could be, given what's happening. But regardless, what I always see this kind of scenes with Daryl, where he gets into this kind of situation where he could die, and everyone would, of course, riot, as the motto is. But when Daryl's aiming the crossbow at that guy's head, he says, "If you shoot me, they're going to take you down." How like badass would it be if he just like shot him mid-sentence and everyone took him down, like cut the credits? Like that'd be the craziest moment of the Walking Dead history.
1,000 voices that cry out in agony.
It would be, but how badass would that be if he just shot him straight in the head after he said all that too?
It would be very similar to a scene in the last episode of Breaking Bad that I won't spoil for people. So meanwhile, Maggie and Sasha catch up with Bob. I believe the same song from the beginning of the episode is playing, so you don't hear what they're saying, but you know they all share hugs and such. Reunited at last, no longer alone. And then in the final shot and scene of the episode, we see Glenn. Well, first we just see the Terminus sign once again, and I believe we see a hand first, and then the camera pans over, and we see it is Glenn still in his riot gear, reading the sign mentioning Terminus. We do not see any of Maggie's signs, so it's not like we've had confirmed that he's seen her sign, that he's even going there, although we can assume because it's television and people need to get there that people follow the sign anyway. But that is where we end the episode.
Yeah, it's a good. That sets everybody on the path at this point, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Rick Michonne and Carl found the sign, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so I think that's everybody. So yeah, they're all on their way to one location, except Beth, I guess, and Daryl for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not
that's
really on that. They got their own thing going on.
So do you think they're going to stretch out them all arriving in Terminus to the end of the season, or are we going to see it beforehand? I hope we see it beforehand, like maybe next episode even.
I'd be surprised if we did at this point, given it's hard to predict at this point. Because like we previously were saying, like yeah, like next 4 episodes will probably be this way, and then we'll change to something else. But now at this point, it's like, well, it seems like the whole season's going to be this kind of pattern. But
Well, I mean, there's only 3 episodes left this season from the previews of next week, but I won't spoil what's in them, but I don't think we saw all the groups. We saw maybe 2 of them. So I have a feeling that if we do see Terminus, it would only be at the very end with maybe 1 or 2 of those groups arriving there. That leaves only 2 episodes left. Do you introduce a brand new set and location that presumably you'd use in another season in the last scene? Like maybe if it's just Terminus is right over this hill and that's the last shot of season 4, or
it depends on
it's them going, let's not go there, it's a silly place.
it depends on how certain
be great.
characters show their hands, I guess. Like who's based out of where, I guess is the way to say
Yeah,
it.
that's
But-
true.
So,
If the Marauders are from Terminus and it's a trap or something like that.
yeah, or even the Beth kidnapping thing. Like there's a lot of balls in the air how this can proceed. With only 3 episodes left, it doesn't really make too much. I don't care too much to predict exactly what's going to happen at this point.
I would say probably more likely that our groups reunite right outside of Terminus and maybe meet some people from that area, but don't go there yet. Or again, it turns out to be something terrible, and so they decide not to go there. But I have a feeling that if Terminus is going to be a long-term thing, we don't really see it this season, or not in a big way. I'm just guessing, but again, we'll see. So before we get into our Buster ratings, Russ, why don't you tell us about our sponsor?
Our sponsor for the Walking Dead TV podcast is Discount Comic Book Service. That's DCB Service. And this month, there are a ton of great specials on at Discount Comic Book Service. One of the things I want to mention for all of you Walking Dead TV show listeners or even casual comic readers, if you are interested, we did a show recently during the break that kind of encapsulated a lot of character comparisons and going through like the first 48 issues. And this month at Discount Comic Book Service, Image has resolicited the first 9 hardcover volumes of The Walking Dead. So each hardcover is typically what we consider 2 trades. So it's roughly 12 issues. So those 9 hardcovers would pretty much catch you up to what's going on in the comic. The 10th hardcover hasn't been solicited yet. But they're all 40% off, and it brings the price from $34.99 down to $20.99 for that. The first trade volume of a book that most of us on one of the sister podcasts, The Long Box of Doom, are very big favorites of is Rick Remender and Matteo Scalera's Black Science. The first trade paperback for that is regular cover price $9.99. You can get it for 50% off at $4.99, and that is an incredible steal for one of the books that we rated one of the tops of 2013. Also, all of the brand new Marvel and DC hardcovers and trades are all 50% off. As always, these are the new solicits for March. You have until the end of the month typically to get them in, but if you say, oh shoot, it's March, I forgot to put February's order in, have no fear. They're happy to take late orders, so get that over to them. Just shoot them an email, let them know. The customer service is always outstanding. Never have any issues with shipping or packaging. So again, head on over to dcbservice.com, and we thank them for their support of the Walking Dead TV podcast.
Thank you very much, Russ. All right, so let's talk about our Buster ratings. Let's not go alphabetically this time. Jim, what was your Buster rating for this week's episode?
Give it a 4 out of 5. There's some solid acting, solid character work. Like I said, it was kind of connective tissue getting everybody to Terminus. They didn't try to overcrowd it with too many cast members in one episode, so they were able to focus on what was going on, which I appreciated. The little plot twists here and there, little things that they encounter along the way, I liked as well. So yeah, 4 out of 5 Busters for me.
Aaron, what did you think of this week's episode?
After a slight diversion, I'm back to the standard 4 out of 5 rating here. I mean, these episodes generally work for me, and this is another one that does its job. Like Jim said, provides kind of connective tissue for where things are going, where people are headed, but also has that strong characterization work for characters that I previously didn't know too much about, while also continuing on the story of Beth and Daryl in a place that intrigues me, because I don't know where the storyline is going necessarily. So.
I will make it a hat trick and also give it 4 out of 5. Like you guys said, it was utilitarian. It did what it needed to do. It did it well. Nothing that really blew me away, but everything they set out to do, they accomplished, and they accomplished well. So 4 out of 5 for me. I would now send it over to Russ for his Buster ratings, but his connection flaked out, and so we'll have to find out from him next week what he thought of the episode. But hey, we got a hat trick, so that's at least fun.
But we do have the thoughts of Brad Milo.
Yeah, Brad sent us a voicemail, so let's play that now.
Hey guys, just a quick note about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. Compared to last week's, this was like a home run hit out of the park, in my opinion. I think I said on the Facebook thread, compared to last week's episode, this episode gets 20 busters. It was just a complete 180 in my opinion. It was wonderful. Lots of good scares, lots of creepy scenes. Yeah, we had Death and Barrel. Wow. Beth and Daryl. Jiminy Christmas. Beth and Daryl. We had them, but for some reason, they were fun to watch this week. I'm not sure why, but the scene in the basement when he was trapped with all the walkers, that was crazy. I really liked seeing how the show opened, seeing how Bob came to be with the group. That was really interesting. Bob has never been an interesting character to me until now. Now, I give a rat's behind about him. For some reason, knowing that he was alone for so long and then finally found a group he could stay with, for some reason, that really makes him an interesting character to me. There was something else. I'm at work, snuck out to my car to record this so I could send it off to you guys. Sorry I can't join you. The stuff with Maggie and Sasha killing the zombies, when she was taking a snooze on the ground and then she woke up and then Sasha ran down to help her, that was pretty awesome. There was something else specifically I was going to say about this, and I can't recall what it is right now. Maybe I'm a little preoccupied with worrying about my manager wondering where I am. I shouldn't be doing this while I'm working, but like I said, I wanted to get my thoughts down. On its own, I believe this episode merits a 4.5 busters. I really liked it. Bob's cool now. Maggie was a tough chick in this one, cutting the zombie open because she ran out of ink. That was pretty crazy. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The group that Daryl hooks up with at the end were the same guys. I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but I was surprised to figure out they were the same guys that had Rick trapped under the bed. So that's neat. That's a little bit of continuity. If we met the one guy that was talking to Daryl, if we met him in that previous episode, was he the one with the tennis ball? I can't recall, but he looked vaguely familiar, but I really don't remember what the one guy whose face we saw in the Beth and Daryl episode. I don't remember what he looked like, but if that was the guy here that was talking to Daryl, then that makes sense. Plus the guy who was choked unconscious and fell to the ground and saw Rick underneath the bed, he was one of the guys that was holding the gun on Daryl at the end of this episode. So a little bit of continuity there I really like. I'm sure you guys mentioned all this, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I really think this episode turned it around, and I like Bob now. He's cool. All right, guys, take it easy. Bye.
Thank you very much, Brad. Yeah, Bob, I agree. Bob is awesome now, and it was nice to see that continuity between the two groups. Yeah, we didn't mention the one secondary guy too, Joe. We've got the names for these different henchmen, if you will, on the Wikipedia page. But the general names: Dan, Harley,
Sleepy, Happy, Dopey.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know which ones are which, but yeah, the guy who got choked out in the Rick episode, who saw Rick, he's still alive. He's not dead. Which we talked about on the Facebook group, and of course Brad mentioned it as well. But yeah, he knows that Rick was there. He would theoretically, unless his brain cells were destroyed by the lack of oxygen, recognize Rick in the future. So that could be very, very interesting.
I like Death and Barrel.
As do I.
It kind of reminds me of like Brangelina or something,
Or Crate and Barrow.
I do agree with what Brad was kind of saying there, though. I mean, I don't know what it is necessarily that made them more enjoyable to watch this episode, but if I saw that in it, it's part of the momentum of what was going on. A creepy funeral parlor never hurts, I guess, either. So.
Jim, what did our listeners on Facebook think about this week's episode?
Well, there are a lot of them more in tune with us, but this is the group he's referring to is the Walking Dead TV Podcast Facebook group. We're happy to have you as members. Please join us. There's a lot of cool news that comes up there. There are always links to Aaron's reviews on theyoungfolks.com and a lot of good discussion and funny stuff and all kinds of great stuff. So please check out our Facebook group, the Walking Dead TV Podcast Facebook group. Brian Arnold gave it 4 out of 5 jars of pig's feet. Leslie Johnson 5, awesome, and I'm going to bet that next week's will be a 5 as well. Kevin Barry 4 out of 5 one-eyed dogs. Just for comparison out there, the stretch of episodes has reminded me of Stephen King's The Stand. I can definitely see that. Smaller groups of people dealing with post-apocalyptic situation. Yeah. Edward Santa Maria 3.9 coffin bunk beds out of 5. I want to give it less, but if I loved it last week, I should at least like this one. Terry Bernard 4.25 out of 5. Only 3 episodes left. I'm sure the slow stuff will pay off. Mike Jones 3 Beth remixes out of 5. Daryl secures the house so Beth can play piano and make a crap ton of noise. He does have a point. Let's see. Belinda Clark gets 3 abandoned ice cream trucks out of 5. Not only didn't Daryl and Beth hear the car, but the trap must have been dismantled for the herd to be at the door when he opened it. 3.75 Daryl giving Beth bedroom eyes from the coffin out of 5 from Chub Toad. That sounds like a Chub Toad thing to say. Sarah Ann Howard 3.75 zombie inkwells. 3.5 serious piggyback rides out of 5 from Samantha Joppy. Susan Monk 3.8 weaponized road signs. Yeah, I know, man. She was like a samurai with that thing. Christine Webb 4.1 Daryl and coffin out of 5. Love Daryl and Beth this week. Dislike Sasha, Bob, and Maggie. 4.25 creepy morgues out of 5 from Brent Jones. This one hooked me right back in even after my distaste of the last 2 episodes. 4 out of 5 sad Daryls from Max Sofer. 3.85 decapitations with a no parking sign out of 5 from SP Barrera. Harold Church 3.75 Phantasm Hearses. Yeah, nice shout out, Harold. Good one. Shalem Bessie Viega. I give 4.25 Daddy Daryls out of 5. You know they got freaky in that coffin. Never seen Daryl so happy the next morning. Oh my. 4 out of 5 white trash brunches from Mary Terpecchia. 4.5 from our own Brad Milo, as we heard. 20 busters, if you could. But no, 4.5, he really liked that episode. 3 out of 5 Silent Bobs for Ian Timms. 4 out of 5 for Luke Smith. This episode had me for 2 most scary scenarios. Zombies coming at you from all angles in dense fog, and being trapped in confined space. Let's see. Richard Choppenberry Charrington using 4 jars of peanut butter eaten out of 5. Love how they're concentrating on only a few characters at a time. 3.5 out of 5. Thank God for the moments out of from Shane Jenkins. Trisha Terrell Collins gives us 4 out of 5. Maggie using blood sharpies. And if you would like to let your voice be heard and your ratings given on The Walking Dead, and also talk to a lot of other like-minded fans, please come join us on The Walking Dead Facebook group on the Facebooks.
It's a fun group to be a part of, that's for sure.
And as I mentioned, Aaron does a review of it pretty much every episode, and those are available on theyoungfolks.com and also linked from that Facebook group.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jim. Yeah, it is fun to kind of write full-on reviews of every week's episode. I'm happy to kind of share it around.
I like to help the young people when I can.
Yeah.
All right, so without any further ado, that's it for the show. You can leave us a voicemail, 972-798-3830. That's 972-798-3830, or send us an email, comments at walkingdeadtv.com. Check out walkingdeadtv.com and hhwlod.com for all of our great shows like Half Hour Wasted, The Long Box of Doom, The Black Box, Out Now with Aaron and Abe, Jersey Shore, The Ichabod Cranecast, Shake and Not Stir, The Action Lab Podcast. If you like it, if it's nerdy, there's a good chance we have a podcast or 3 about it.
We should also mention our top 20 movie list episode from Half Hour Wasted and Long Box of Doom getting together, all of us together, talking about our aggregate top 20 movie list. That was a very exciting episode.
Absolutely. If you head over to the HHWLOD master feed or to the Half Hour Wasted feed, check out episode 363, in which our own Russell Latham joined Brad, Bill, and Frank in studio to talk about our list of the top 20 movies ever made, as according to the HHWLOD podcast network. And Jim, John, and I also joined them over Skype, so it was a ton of fun.
That's a fun episode. That's well worth checking out. And I know us over at Out Now with Aaron and Abe, we're planning on doing something to that effect as well when we get to our 150th episode in about 2 months' time.
We also have already recorded a show for Jersey Shore about that same topic, so there's going to be a lot of fun movie talk on the network for the next while. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at WDTV Podcast and at HHWLOD_network. Aaron is at Aaron's PS4. Jim is at Yoda Jones. Russ, who, like I said, his connection failed, but his account is at R Latham, Latham, and I'm at Jordan FRM Jersey. And so until there's no more room left in Hell and Dead Walk Years, remember, the sign said no parking. Have a good week, everybody.
I saw the sign.
Parking strictly enforced in this area.
Violators will be
The
decapitated.
yellow zone is for loading and zombies and unloading zombies only.
Decapitated trying to fight it.
And next week on The Walking Dead, episode 414 is entitled, and if you don't want to know any of this, cut out now, have a good week, but the title of the episode is The Grove. And the
Scary trees.
Oh, if we have an Evil Dead style trees, that's going to be very creepy. The very vague synopsis we have from AMC is the group finds a place to establish a new shelter. Could that mean that they get to determine this next week? We shall see. Or does it just mean that they found a really nifty park? Only time will tell, folks. Have a good one. So once they've finished dispatching the walkers, Maggie tells, that is not a sentence, Wikipedia, that is not a sentence.
So long.
Farewell.
Pig's feet.
No, you're supposed to say, as Swedish name, good night.
Happy Pig's Feet's a way
Oh, I
better
hate
closing
those.
remark.